Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing great and the year end is upon us. The year is going to end very soon, and at this point of time I really like to do a wrap up video, which means just discuss all the books that I read throughout the year, if I liked them or I didn't like them, if I'll recommend them or not, and yeah, that sort of a video. So that's exactly what we are doing today. Any of these books that I have reviewed on my channel, their review links will be available on the top of the screen when I mention the books, and definitely in the description box. So if you're interested in watching them, make sure to check that out. And without further ado, let's get started. So the first book that I read this year was I Have Never Been Unhappier by Shaheen Bhatt. The book deals with the mental illness, her own experience with depression, and how it has nothing to do with the person like you are. It has nothing to do with how privileged you are, or what all you have in life or not. And yeah, it just discusses mental health in a very practical way because obviously it's her own experience. And I actually really loved the book and I totally recommend it because it's very easy to read. And it still makes sense and valid points about mental illnesses. On number 2 is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and this is a classic, so I don't really need to tell you what it is about. But yeah, I don't really have any strong feelings about the book. I didn't love it very much, I didn't hate it very much. I read it because of university, and it was fine. Like, it was just a fine experience. I'll never reread it again, but I don't regret reading it or spending time on this book. So it was just an okayish book for me. I just wish that was a little less lengthy. But yeah, I know there are a lot of people who are just big fans of Jane Eyre, and good for you, but it was just a very okayish read for me. Okay, on number 3 is a book by my favorite author, and if you know me, you have guessed the author. Yeah, it's Ruskin Bond's Landor Days. It's a memoir in which he has just included some of the diary entries from some of his days in the hills of Landor, obviously. And I absolutely love it, just like every other Ruskin Bond book. The nature imageries and the nature descriptions are just, oh my god, they are to die for, and they just transport me to those places. And I don't even love hills, but he makes me fall in love with them anyway. So, totally recommend it. On number 4 is Ikigai by authors whose name I can never pronounce, which is Hector Garcia and Francesc Mirols. I just hope I am not butchering their names very badly, but yeah, Ikigai is on number 4, and it's a self-help book which deals with the concept of Ikigai, which is to do with what's the purpose of your life, and it has descriptions from lives of people who are super centenarians. So I just really loved the book. I loved reading about their experiences, their lifestyle, their life choices, and their mindset in particular, which they think helped them to live so long, and not just long, but also a very happy life, because that's the purpose. Okay, long life is not the main purpose. And I absolutely loved this book, and I loved it even more because this is the book whose video is most popular on my channel right now. You people really loved it, and thanks a lot for such a great response on that video. On number 5 is this poetry book by Rumi, and I didn't really read it this year. I finished reading it this year because the poetry was a little bit, like, the concepts were a little bit difficult to understand. I just don't want to just go through the poems just for the sake of it. I like to understand what the poet said, why is it said, what does it mean, how does it connect to me. So it took me a while to completely read this, but this year I finally did, and I actually liked the poems. Some of the poems definitely clicked a lot with me. Some were like fine and okayish. So all in all, it's a good book, and if you are a poetry lover, then you can definitely go for it. On number 6 is a classic that I have not seen a single person hate, and that's Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I again read it for university, but I ended up loving it so much, and I'm obsessed with Pride and Prejudice memes. I just absolutely loved the book. I loved the narrative, the plot, the characters, their dialogues. I just loved everything about Pride and Prejudice. And if you're a book lover, even if you're not, just give it a chance. It's amazing. Okay, the next book that I read this year is Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. I am a big Murakami fan, but I don't understand his novels completely, and I think that's the point. I think nobody understands them completely, and the little bit of his novels that we do end up understanding, I think that's different for everybody, because it depends a lot on your perspectives and your takes on life and how he portrays him in his books. So Kafka on the Shore is also a very nice book, but if you are looking for a concrete ending to something, if you're looking for closure at the end of plots you read about, then perhaps you should not go for Kafka on the Shore, because it will leave you with questions, and there are no answers for those questions. But otherwise, if you're not that kind of a person, if you're into magical realism, into reading about life in different, in weird ways, uh, in complexities of the human mind and the human life, I think then it's a great book for you. It's definitely lengthy, so if you're not a patient reader, definitely don't pick it up. But if you have the patience to go through a lengthy book, then you should not miss Kafka on the Shore. On number 8, we have Ugly by Constance Briscoe. It's about a little girl. It's a like true story about of the author. It's about when she was like little and how she had a very loveless childhood. In fact, very very traumatic. But the thing with this book is, guys, after I reviewed the book on my channel, I went back to read more about it. There's another sequel to it as well, but I was reading about the book and the author, and there are some controversies surrounding her specifically, and also surrounding the narrative in this book, and people say that it's false. And I think her mother also like did a case on her or something for false descriptions that she gives about her in the novel. So after that, I have my reservations about the whole book. I was like very very sympathetic towards the author, but when I read all about these controversies, I'm not really sure, because we don't know what the truth is. So yeah, that's that. And it's a very sad book, so if you don't like sad books, it's sad throughout, it's serious throughout, and especially, you know, reading about violence with children, it's just not a very pleasant experience. So if you can't take all that, don't go for it. Next is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and again, I don't need to speak about the plot or what Frankenstein is about, you all know. So yeah, I read it for the first time because of university again, and I absolutely loved the stories. It was so fun to read and to analyze in different ways and perspectives. So yeah, I just really loved it, and I totally recommend it. The next book is a book that made me cry the most this year, I guess, and I still ended up loving it a lot. And that is the book Thief by Marcus Aurelius. People go mad about this book, and honestly, I understand, absolutely understand why. So this book is narrated by Death itself, and it's set in Nazi Germany and follows this little girl Liesel Miminger and her foster parents, and the whole destructiveness of Nazi Germany, not just physically, you know, not just the physical aspects of the destruction, but how it destroyed people's relationships and hearts and souls. It's a very, very, very sad book, but I just loved every page of it. I loved all the relationships that the book contains. This book, it's just very close to my heart, and I think you should definitely go for it. Next up, we have Pratigya by Munshi Premchand. Obviously, it's a Hindi book. It's about social evils that existed during his time. They still exist today anyway. And I think it's a wonderful take on widowhood, widow remarriage, and concepts like that. And I absolutely loved reading it. I want to read more by Munshi Premchand, because he is just such he's a brilliant writer. He just knows his way around words, and he tackles so many issues and topics in this thin book. I think he's just brilliant. So yeah, I absolutely love Pratigya, and if you want to read any Hindi books, Pratigya is a good choice. The next book that I read this year was Rebecca. I actually reread it because I had originally read it like years and years and years ago when I was like what, I was 13 or 14 at that time, and since it's a classic, I just wanted to reread it and understand it better. But the story is actually good. I like it. But my problem is that I had the abridged version, which I'm not a fan of when it comes to classics at all. So that, and otherwise, the I would have tolerated the abridged version as well, because I just wanted to brush up on the plot. But this publisher S Chan, I'm not really sure how it's pronounced. They have done such a bad job with this classic. There are so many grammatical errors and spelling errors that it just totally ruins the book for me. The book in itself, the story in itself is great, but this publication, do not go for it at all. Okay, on number 13 is again a classic, which is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Again, I won't go into the plot, but okay, that weirdly rhymed. But yeah, I actually included this book in a video this year, which was about the books that I think I'll never be able to finish, because yeah, I started it 3 or 4 times, and every time something else came up and I just couldn't give my time to this book. But I dedicated myself to reading it, because I was really, really into the story of these four sisters. And I absolutely again loved the book. It's a classic, what can I say? I definitely recommend it. My only problem is that I did not like the fact, and spoiler alert, if you have not seen it, just skip 5 to 10 seconds ahead. I did not like that Laurie ended up with Amy. That just ruined the book for me. That comes at the end, and everything has been going good in the story. But why did Laurie have to end up with Amy? They could have stayed single if, that was a better choice, but that's what it is. Yeah, that's my only problem with the book. Otherwise, I absolutely loved it. Next up, we again have a classic, which is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. I loved this book to bits. It follows this journey of this girl called Celie from her teenage years till her old age. So you can say it's a Bildungsroman, and it explores within it tons and tons of issues and concepts like racism and opinions and views about sexuality, gender roles, gender norms, how people viewed God, views about God. It just has a lot that it explores within it, and it's written in an epistolary form for most of the novel. We can see Celie writing letters to God, and then there are by the end there are letters between Celie and her sister. So the entire novel is in the form of letters, and it's very engaging, very gripping. I didn't want to leave it even for a single second. I flew through this book, like literally I flew through this. So it's a must read from my side. Okay, next up we have Sexing the Cherry by Janet Winterson. My favorite cover this year, I guess, but also one of my favorite books. I can say I actually like the story. Like Kafka on the Shore, even this one didn't make complete sense to me, because the story is actually set within different timelines, and it keeps going back and forth, and that's actually the point of the story, to rewrite the notions of reality. What is reality? Is there a singular reality for everyone in the universe? Or even questions like, does one individual has only one reality, or is it possible to have multiple selves existing together at different times and different places? So if you're interested in parallel universes and different timelines and that sort of a thing, I think Sexing the Cherry, you will love this book. Next up we have When Love Came Calling. This is one of my very recent reviews. It is by Preeti Shenoy, and I like this book. And if you are interested in contemporary fiction and reading about young adult and those sort of genres, I think you can definitely go for it. And the last book for this video is The Diary of My Love by Disha Sangani, and all I have to say is that I did not like a single thing about this book. I think that is enough to say about this book. I have nothing else to say, just I did not like it at all. So these were pretty much all the books I read this year, or the ones at least that I remember. I tried to keep like a record, and I think I have not missed anything. If I have, I don't really know. But yeah, these were pretty much all the books that I read this year. Far away from my goal, but it's okay. And my top 5, if I have to say out of these, have to be in no particular order: Ikigai, Pride and Prejudice, Little Women, The Color Purple, and The Book Thief. So that was all I had for today's video. I really hope that you liked this video. It was fun for you to watch. Do share with me what all you read this year, which were your favorite books that you would recommend that everyone should read, and I would love to read about them in the comment section below. And if you like this, please make sure that you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. I'm so close to 1K, so go ahead, subscribe to my channel, hit the notifications bell, and help me reach 1K really soon. If you want to follow me, you can also follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle, as always, will be here on the screen, and the link to reach my profile and follow me will be in the description. So go ahead, click on that and follow me over there. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.